Good to see you once again here on this Sunday, and a friend 413 ABC here joining us from the University of Toledo. Wanted to reintroduce to you Dr. Lisa Piscara-Kovac joining us here to talk a little bit about something where, unfortunately, we're coming up on a calendar event going back to last year and the school shootings at Parkland, Florida. And I wanted to bring you in because of a topic that we have been focused on. You reached out to me via email, and that is the need to talk about suicide. And what we have seen in this region over the last couple of years and some higher profile scenarios. But why is now there's such a buzz about getting this conversation, let's say, keeping it going?
I think we need to keep it going because suicide used to be, you know, we've seen it go from the fourth leading cause of death in youth to climbing and climbing, and now it's the second leading cause of death. And we're losing students locally just as we are at the national level, so we can't say this happens elsewhere because we're seeing one, sometimes two, sometimes three students at a time, you know, within a very short period losing their lives. And we need to start talking about this. Having the conversation, as uncomfortable as it is, it has to happen. And
cause and effect, and you're not seeing that as far as having the conversation. It's not like you need to get this out, don't you?
Yeah, you need to get it out. In fact, if you don't have that conversation, they're going to withhold everything. They're not going to know that it's okay to talk about this.
They being the kids.
Absolutely.
But you say adults hold a responsibility in this as well, specifically school adults.
Yeah, we have superintendents, principals, school counselors, teachers, people who are interacting with these students absolutely have to open their eyes, take the lead, take note of what's going on. Just be aware of sort of some of the dynamics within that school system. It doesn't do anyone good if we say, well, we have this covered, when in fact we do not. And it's, you know, it's okay not to be an expert in everything. So it's okay for a district to say, look, we don't know how to handle this. We've had a loss. What do we do now? How do we prevent the next one from happening? It's okay to do that.
Do you think there is that stigma, though, from an administration standpoint, that if we do talk about this, it's going to cause more of them?
Yeah, and I think that's okay, because when we're training administrators, we're not training them on mental health per se, right? So we're training them on other things with policies and that aspect that they need to cover. So they're not going to get a lot of information on this, and it's appropriate to ask someone else or to lean on somebody else to take care of this or take this off of your shoulders and rely on those who really know what they're doing. If we don't, and this is my concern, if we don't, we're going to continue to see ourselves on this path because we have to have the conversation.
I asked you before we came out here today, I said, is it being reported more or is it happening more? And your thoughts?
It's happening more. It's happening more. I'm afraid, actually, when I say it's the leading cause of death, I'm not entirely convinced it's the second. I'm convinced it's the first leading cause of death. Research tells us it's the second in 10 to 24-year-olds. However, when we read obituaries of some of these students, we'll see died unexpectedly, died at home, died suddenly, died in the hospital, and you know something's amiss.
But let me stop you right there. And the one thing that isn't included in any of those explanations is an explanation.
Right.
What is the why?
The why is stigma. The why is parents feeling as though they did something wrong because society often looks at them like you should have known. We don't always know.
I mean the why from those who commit suicide. Why is it happening?
It's happening because in part their lives are so fast-paced, and we talk about social media all the time, but we're seeing this really vast increase in adolescent females, and a big part of that is social media, comparing themselves to these images out there that they feel they'll never attain. And those are important conversations, too, that I'll have with my daughters in terms of that person used to look like this, or that person without a filter looks like that, and it's okay that they're choosing that themselves, but for the average individual, you cannot compare yourself to that standard.
It's like bringing the Stepford wives all back again, isn't it?
And if you're already struggling, and then you see that, you feel even less about yourself. Sometimes the best advice is to get rid of all social media. We always tell anyone.
And you're not talking just a day of taking a breath from it.
No, if it's something that makes you feel bad about yourself,
why keep it around?
Or just follow those you know, Instagram accounts or whatever that make you feel good, that are uplifting. You know?
I want to show some statistics to folks at home. We start off with why this is such a concern here and now, and we run through the numbers. The numbers, you look at them, it's hard to accept the fact that this is reality, doctor, but you look at it and you've got 1 million Americans attempting each year, 40,000 dying each year, and every 12, almost 13 minutes in the U.S. It happens.
Staggering rates.
It is. We go on. There are 121 each day in our country, and suicide is the 10th leading cause of death overall in the U.S. You think that's a number that's out there, but it could be worse.
It could be worse. In fact, I think that going back to these causes and this sort of increase that we're seeing, the causes for females are the social media, but we're seeing a lot of kids feeling burdensome to families. You know, when there's financial struggles or something, and they feel as though, you know, if I wasn't here. So we're seeing it also in males that are struggling with, if their families are struggling financially. We see it in young males now, sort of on the increase, as though, you know, you'll find their notes and go through sort of the information, and they tend to say, now that I'm not here, you won't have to buy me anything. You won't be responsible for taking care of me. I wanted to do this for you, as if it was a gift, when if they only knew how much their parents love them, and I think they do, but they're sort of desperate in that moment.
We talk about some of those support elements, and let's show the next slide here for folks at home, talking specifically about the protective factors is how you deem them, and we're talking family stability, which sometimes is controllable, sometimes not, but school connectedness. What do you mean by that?
I just mean, you know, you have to feel welcome in that environment. If it's an extracurricular, or if it's a particular teacher who makes you feel welcome every day, you shouldn't want to shy away from school. It shouldn't be a place you go to that's toxic.
Finding something that brings you joy.
Absolutely.
Let's look at the rest of the list there for folks at home. We'll give you a look at the rest of what we're talking about here. Once again, these supportive factors that exist. Healthy peer relationships make sense. Trusting adult inside and outside of school, so extremely important, isn't it?
Incredibly important. The outside of school piece, it doesn't even have to be a parent. If it's an older sibling, if it's a neighbor, a grandparent, someone who every single day will say, I love you, I care about you, I need you to be here. Same with the teacher, or the school counselor, or the principal, or the janitor. Anybody who can say that, I'm glad you're here today.
And there are outlets. We wanted to point that out to the kids and the parents at home as well. There is an 800 number that you can call. We wanted to show you that. Our final slide here today, suicide prevention Lifeline. Just getting a voice on the end of that line, 1-800-273-TALK or 8255. And then making it very easy for those with a cell phone, crisis text line, text the word hello to 741-741. So as we wrap things up here today, talking about getting the word out, what's the easiest way for parents to open the conversation?
It's okay to ask the question. It's okay to say, have you ever thought about hurting yourself? And have you ever thought about taking your own life? Those are really uncomfortable questions, but you have to open that conversation and reassure them that it's okay to tell me this. I'm not here to yell at you or judge you. I'm here to help you. That's my job as a parent. So we have to have the conversations. There is a really, really good app called Suicide Safe. Beautiful. So if parents are like, okay, I'm worried, I don't know if I'm going to say the right thing.
It's for parents or it's for kids?
It's for anyone.
Everybody.
And it has all of those guiding questions, and it literally has almost a script that you can follow, and you can program your location, and it will tell you who in your area specializes in assisting with suicide.
Suicide Safe's the name of the app.
Yes.
Doctor, thank you so much.
Sure.
We appreciate the insight. You are now more in touch.